let's not put ideas like that into the role.
No.
The unluckiest goalkeeper I've ever seen. Won't be in England. I'm going to chuck one in here.
No, not at all.
There isn't really an answer to your question. I know it's a little bit of a cop-out, and I'm still on the fence a bit there. But
You ask the questions here. You're the boss. But
You're gonna ask.
may I ask a question of you?
Go on. Liverpool, in terms of the title race, because you know it feels like it's almost an air of inevitability that they'll win their first English title in 30 years.
Yeah.
The fact that they're 14 points ahead of Manchester City is quite astonishing, really. But to have Leicester City perched there, 8 points behind, just keeping Jurgen Klopp's side honest.
Well, they're a better team.
Are we surprised? Should we be surprised by what Brendan Rodgers is doing at Leicester?
Well, I am surprised, but no, we shouldn't.
No.
I mean, they are a fantastic team. They, particularly, I would say, the front six, but I mean, really they're good, and they've got character all the way through. And what they've got is something that really 18 out of the Premier League clubs haven't got: the knowledge that they can win a title. You know? And that's incredible. They're not going to win it this year.
And a manager who's been there and done it.
And a manager who's won titles. Manager who should have won a title with Liverpool.
Yes.
And has been as close as Benitez or Houllier or anybody else to doing so.
Yeah.
So, you know, it wasn't his fault that he didn't win the title. So, I think there's another factor which, unfortunately, you wish weren't there in Leicester. There's the emotional heightening of emotion, which, you know, if you could go back and almost compare it in a way with, you know, the loss. I'm talking about the loss of the club, the benefactor, but you could almost compare it in a way with Manchester United after Munich. It was something that you couldn't say. The club had actually grown in tragedy. So you wish it hadn't happened, but it has.
It's interesting.
And it pulls people together. And it means, I bet that the work rate in training and in matches of Leicester since the tragedy has been way above average in the Premier League. And it's a kind of an elephant in the room. You don't like talking about it because you wish it hadn't happened.
I tell you what, I had to interview a few of the players on the 1 year anniversary, which wasn't that long ago, the passing of Vishai.
Yeah.
And all they want to do is do him proud. And wherever you go in the stadium, and his son, but wherever you go in the, and they're not paying lip service. It's not as if they're being told what their press or media. It was him who brought that band of brothers together, and that managed to do that. You know, something absolutely miraculous in 15-16. But wherever you go in the King Power, Vishai's face is there. If it's in the tunnel, it's in the dressing room, it's in the boardroom.
Do you know, if anybody wasn't aware of it, I bet my life Kasper Schmeichel would make sure they were.
Correct. And so would Wes Morgan.
And
those were the two individuals I spoke to as it happened.
Ah, really?
Now, you said the word emotion, because if emotion is there for Leicester, it certainly is for Liverpool, because it's an emotional city. It's an emotional club. They've already gone through their ups and downs over the years. And it's now all about harnessing that emotion. Which club almost can deal with it better?
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? I mean, obviously, actually, you know, they're having to deal with it again, unfortunately, because of the latest ruling, the David Duckenfield's trial.
It's fresh again.
It's fresh again, and it's interesting because when you go to Anfield, the noise you hear is actually unlike anything else you hear in the country. It's
raw.
I describe it as raw. I describe it as a fever. It's a frenzy. It's febrile. It's intoxicating. And actually, I remember reading Raphael Honigstein's biography of Jurgen Klopp, and he takes you inside his first meeting with John Henry at an interview. And they're talking about the power of communication and unlocking the power of Liverpool as a football team. And that's exactly what he's done. He's created this kind of this symbiosis between the crowd and the players, and the entity that results is just awesome at times.
Do you know, he did this at Mainz as well, which, you know, who'd heard of Mainz?
Given their resources at the time, and given
and suddenly there's 30,000 every week, and the atmosphere, you know, is one of the best in the league. It's sort of like a Pied Piper that this man is, and of course he did it in probably easier circumstances at Dortmund, of course, which is already a great club and a magnificent, towering stadium. But he, you know, added, if anything, to that fervour. And then finally, you're thinking, well, you know, what do you do for an encore? You go to Liverpool and you harness that power. We're very lucky, you know, we've just been talking about subjects that go beyond football.
Yes, absolutely.
And
but which could have a bearing on the football.
But can have a bearing on the football. I remember Liverpool immediately after Hillsborough, and when they played after 2 weeks, I think it was the semi-final, and you would think this is going to be very difficult to handle. You're still very emotional, and have they been training? They've been at a funeral every day. Whack, the tackles go in, and the crowds start roaring, and you realise that's what the fans needed. They needed to see, you know, fight for the ones that had been lost. And, well, we're still talking about it now, something like that. I remember thinking, wincing at the time, thinking, no, let's just have a
tippy-tappy game.
Tippy-tappy game. Yeah. No, they wanted to pay respect to, you know, to the people who'd missed the original game. Anyway, it's still carrying on, but we are very lucky to be witnesses to this. Admittedly, you know, neutral ones, well, certainly in my case, to the power of football, and that's all I've got to say.
Do we expect Liverpool to see it through?
The title, without a shadow of doubt.
Yeah, absolutely.
But as comfortably as they are at the minute, or is it going to get a little bit tighter before?
No, they won't. They will be relentless on this. I think I would think they'll win the title by. Oh, they might ease up if they win it in very early, and so the margin will be only 3 points at the end, but the real margin will be 9 or 10 points.
So,
last town they have to go through really is Leicester. They've got that game. I think it's on Boxing Day. Yeah, Leicester at the King Power. They can come through that. They need to win that game.
Isn't it?
It's a late kick-off. Yeah. That's a game. That's a real game, and I think I can't wait for it either, because that's, you know, in any other season we'd really just be talking about Leicester, I think. But Liverpool have been excellent, and that's almost a decider, really, I think.
Yeah. Pity it's not on the TV, isn't it?
On free-to-air TV, yeah, absolutely.
For Manchester City, and we've touched on them already, but they've dropped 16 points, which is almost unheard of considering the high standards they've set themselves under Pep in the last couple of seasons particularly. They have certainly lost this air of invincibility where you'd see them in the tunnel in the last couple of seasons, they'd beat the team already, to be honest, just by being there. There is talk, and it never seems to go away, that this could well be Pep's final season. What do you think?
Yeah, I was talking to someone about this yesterday, actually. It's a feeling of looseness that you get from watching them. You feel like this is not a team which is being coached with the same intensity as before. And whether we are trained to read a little bit too much into that, I don't know. But I think that's existed all season. One of the first City games I covered this year was their draw with Tottenham. Right. It was one of the most dominant performances I've seen.
They could have done any more.
It could have been 8-0. Yeah. Honestly, it was within half an hour the game could have been over. And somehow they didn't win, and it was just... There's just a touch of imprecision about their football. And given the kind of personality Guardiola is, and given how that personality typically infects and leaks into his sides, the fact that that doesn't exist at the moment is concerning. And you wonder also whether, I don't know, I mean, he talks about that sort of that LMA anecdote about swapping trophies. Is City good enough to win the European Cup? I mean, is this, with the defence as it is, with the midfield seemingly hinging on Fernandinho, who's in his mid-30s?
Yes.
Is this City team prepared to be what he wants to manage for the next 2 or 3 years? I don't know.
Do you know, I looked into this today. I was thinking Fernandinho could be on his way in the summer. David Silva definitely is. There might be 1 or 2. If he does leave, does he not almost leave a team behind similar to the City he inherited, where there are still question marks, primarily of their fullbacks even?
He's leaving, it almost feels like he's leaving Pellegrini's Tottenham. Pellegrini's City. Because it's an incomplete work.
But there are similarities there.
There are similarities there in the sense that it's kind of, and I hate saying this because what City have achieved over the last couple of years has been at times thrilling to watch, a little bit robotic. With my fan cap on, I'm not moved by the success for a few other reasons. But as a coaching and technical achievement, it's been mesmerising. It's not the same. It's not the same, and it feels like they're further away than they were last season, and that all the indicators, the players that you've mentioned, Silva, Fernandinho, I throw Aguero in there too, because he's coming towards the end now.
Yeah. It's coming to the end of a cycle. Yeah.
It definitely is. It definitely is. It still feels also like they've never really replaced someone like Yaya Toure as well, which is a strange thing to say a couple of years later. For a club of their resources, it's a little bit of a failing too.
And have they replaced Company as the leader? Emotionally,
absolutely not. Absolutely not. And you see that most vividly in the defence, of course, but I'd say that's a club-wide issue because he was on the wane as a player. Not really his fault. Physically, he wilted. His body let him down. But at the same time, you cannot, and football proves this again and again, you cannot overestimate the value of a singular personality within a club of that size.
Yeah.
It's always been the case.
Interesting you talk about them being almost robotic, or incisive in what they've done. In the main, really.
Yes.
Under Pep. You can't say the same for Chelsea under Frank Lampard, who I think have been brilliant and entertaining because of the youngsters. But they've hit a slight sticky patch.
Lovely football.
In the Premier League. 3 defeats in the last 4. Now, it prompts a debate with the January window now open for them to do business in.
An unhelpful one too, I'd say.
Unhelpful.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, but look at the way they're conceding goals at the minute. Yeah. Would you forsake that club, that team dynamic now, just to at least shore up that defence, which might cost you a top 4 place?
I'd wait to see what kind of shape Antonio Rudiger is in when he comes back. He is their best defender, without question. He makes a huge difference. Placing the value of him alongside someone like Fikayo Tomori is immeasurable, really, because of that experience. I want to see that team given the chance to mature. I don't want to see a phalanx of 40, 50 million pound players march into the club in January just for the sake of it, just because that's been the way of things in the past. I also worry, one of the things I've noticed about Stamford Bridge this season is that the atmosphere is different. So I don't want to call it entitlement. I think it's just a symptom of modern football. But this is a club who achieve. This is a club who've got used to competing for major trophies every season. And when they don't, they do something about it. They are pragmatic in their solutions. And as a result of this transfer ban, which is kind of presented and framed this season as a free hit, fans have always accepted that. It's been a very different Chelsea, I don't want to say audience, but atmosphere. It's very, very different. It's almost, they're
more humble.
I don't know about humble. I'm a Tottenham fan, so it's difficult for me to use a word like humble about Chelsea. And this is being broadcast, so no, I'm not going to do that. Yeah. But at the same time, I say it's been helpful because Mason Mount, Tammy Abraham, Reece James, these players benefit from having the crowd support, from not having, from not misplacing a pass, missing an opportunity, having a couple of bad games, and having to deal with the narrative of, right, well, this continental standard player is ours for £60 million. That is not helpful for a young footballer. And hopefully that doesn't change.
Is the transfer window unhelpful, to use Seb's phrase?
No, I think they've got to. I don't think they should be over. I think you can improve the defensive performance of the team tomorrow by playing N'Golo Kante in a more defensive role. Yeah. That's a pity, really, because he does sort of shuttle between the front and the back really, really well. Back and the front really, really well. He knits your team together.
Absolutely.
Now, I can understand why the previous manager, the Italian guy,
Sarri,
did what he did. I wouldn't have done it, but I can understand why, and it made sense. But at the moment, they need to be more defensive. They do need to be more resilient defensively. And what you usually find if teams are poor defensively, it's not really the back four. It's the structure that enables people to...
Can I pose a question to you? Because I want to do a little straw poll.
Suppose the back four.
What do you think of the goalkeeper?
Kepa?
Yeah.
Absolutely useless.
Yeah, I don't think he's proved value for money.
Yeah.
I actually think he's doing better at the minute. But he's nowhere near as consistent for 75 million plus.
That's it.
World record fee for a goalkeeper. I just think I would have expected him to be almost faultless.
If you compare him with other big money, big reputation, but Alisson, for example.
Yeah.
Oblak, for instance. I mean, I put him nowhere near that category goalkeeper.
No.
Oblak is outstanding. Alisson again.
How old's Kepa?
24, 20,
See?
something like that.
What are you doing with a 24-year-old goalkeeper?
Yeah.
They might be good.
Yeah.
I mean, Buffon was good at 20.
Does it matter if he's not physically that big?
No, it helps if they're imposing, but obviously
he doesn't feel
But
big,
he doesn't make the goal big. He doesn't make the he doesn't make the goal small.
Yeah.
And no, yeah, he does bring off breathtaking saves. But no, I think
I don't
he's
want
a
that in my
real-
goalkeeper. I want
think he's-
stability in my goalkeeper. I want.
You don't want a showman.
Well,
you want your midfield
exactly-
players to show you
exactly
some
that.
tricks.
And I think that the construction of any defence begins there. You look at any excellent defence in the game's history, you see a really solid, not necessarily a goalkeeper that goes between 9 out of 10 and 5 out of 10.
Bear in mind,
8 out of 10 every
this
week.
is
7
a
out of 10
crowd
every
that's been brought up on better check. You know?
Yes, and Courtois after him.
And
Absolutely,
Courtois.
yeah.
You know,
Absolute
these are the category A.
Yeah. Okay. Manchester United under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. I tell you what, wins over what? Jose Mourinho and Pep Guardiola. Not many people saw that coming.
No.
Is he the right fit still for you?
At the moment, I think he's absolutely fantastic.
Okay.
I mean, bear in mind that he's been up against Liverpool. Okay, it was only a draw, but for me, it was almost like a moral victory because they made Liverpool look ordinary. And that, for Solskjaer, a relatively inexperienced manager, to outwit Klopp, which he did. You know, he never got any credit for it, using the wide strikers and playing no centre
Which
forward.
against Pep, really.
Which was excellent.
Absolutely.
Exactly. And so and then he then outwits Pep. I mean, what more is he supposed to do, And plus, doing all the right things. Wide attack. All out of the Busby or Ferguson handbook. Wide attack. Homebred youth. Excitement.
wingers at the top of the formation.
Exactly, exactly. Pace.
Even if they weren't meant to be first teamers.
Exactly that. But,
exactly. And he even talks like a Man United fan. He really exudes.
You're feeling the Solskjaer, which is good, actually.
Do you know, at the moment, I even prefer Manchester United to England.
I can tell that from the
that's a statement, isn't it?
Yeah.
No, I used to support City actually when I lived in Manchester. Yeah, I used to go to Main Road as well. Yeah, but anyway, that's
for another podcast.
Because I know this is going out.
Yeah.
I'm unmoved by him, not in the way that Paddy is. Definitely, the problem at Manchester United is not a manager.
Yeah.
It never has been. It's you need to focus attention above that. You need to look at the footballing structure. Who's leading that? You need to see we need some clarity over what the ownership's aims really are. Solskjaer. I mean, it's interesting because obviously you can't ignore what he did against Tottenham or against Man City. That's Mourinho and Guardiola. There's a very valuable notches for any CV. But I still don't trust him not to lose the Saturday 3 p.m. kickoff. Take the Sky cameras away. Take the illustrious
Burnley's, the
opposition.
Bournemouths.
Absolutely. The Evertons at the weekend.
Yeah.
The Duncan Ferguson's Evertons. It would be very, very Ole Solskjaer if he was to beat Mourinho and Guardiola and then lose at home to Duncan Ferguson.
Can I just say,
And that's indicative of what he is at the moment. I don't feel like I have
what Klopp was 3 years ago.
Yes, absolutely.
Two, 3.
yeah. You just talked about Duncan Ferguson. How good was it when he was picking up the ball,
Wonderful.
boy? and-
Wonderful.
Have you ever seen him smile before?
No, not like that.
I found it slightly unsettling. Lovely moment, but he was picking up a ball boy, and he thought the Duncan Ferguson I know is he's an elbow and a headbutter and a really like someone that stalks your dreams.
If you found Duncan Ferguson unsettling, I think that's the least controversial statement and the most juste mot I think you've ever used.
It's a good point, actually, but it is one of the most, I think, brilliant images that we got from the last match in the Premier League.
Absolutely.
And look,
Isn't he one of those guys though when he speaks, and maybe it's just now.
It's a bit like what he sounded like.
I know. You just hang on every word.
Yeah.
Whether that will last in the way it did with Mourinho, for several years, I don't know. But what a start.
Yeah.
What a start.
With that Scottish accent, he's captivating. He's not the only one. Patrick, listen, thanks very much indeed.
Thank you.
Great to see you. And Seb, thanks very much indeed. We've kept our powder dry on Tottenham, so we'll do that next time. I hope you've enjoyed that. Don't forget to keep following us via Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all the social media channels, and on HaytersTV for much more of the same and more on the debate.